Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Certified Podcast. Welcome back. Episode number 12, episode number 3 of season 2. I'm still waiting for you guys to let me know which one I should start numbering these episodes. I'm still a little confused on that. But happy to have you guys back. I got a good friend joining me today. A lot of you might know him from the N1 basketball circuit. He's played professional ball all over the world, a lot of different leagues across the United States. Now he's doing a lot of good stuff, helping back in the community, giving back to kids. So we're going to get on all that stuff. But first, you know the drill. Just look right below the screen, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help us grow. We grow, you grow. So we definitely appreciate it. The more you help us, the more we can put on better shows. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. I'm talking about Lonnie Harrell, aka Prime Objective. Lonnie, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Mike? Glad you had me on here.
Man, I'm glad you made the time, man. I appreciate you, man. We go way back, so it's good to have you on, get you caught up. Tried to get you on for season 1, never really worked out, but happy to have you on for season 2.
Yeah, season 2 better anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Just keeps on moving. Season 2 is better because it's active.
Right.
Season 1, I did like 9 episodes, and then it was just like almost like pulling teeth because kind of real life got in the way a little bit, and then I finally was able to get back. This pandemic and everything, but gave me some time to really get back to work, so it was good to do. It worked out a little bit for me, but definitely a tough time for everybody. But as far as you go, man, I think the very first time I ever met you, or not even met you, but first time I saw you, you were playing in a now way defunct league, the USBL. You were playing for the Washington Congressionals, and I had no idea who you are at the time. Big basketball fan, but I grew up more in Northern Virginia than I did DC, so I didn't know you quite as well. And you're a couple years older than me, so
Right.
a little bit of different circles. And while I was playing ball out in VA and high school and college and everything, you were already onto your professional career. So, you know, um, but you were playing at UDC. So I think it was like the first year you played for the Washington team, before all the wheels kind of fell off in that league. You still, I remember seeing an interview, and you still had a little bit of hope at the time. And like a year later, you had an interview, and you said it was the worst experience of your life. um, but you're pretty much a DC legend. I mean, anybody in DC knows streetball, knows you. You came up playing at Eastern High School in Northeast. Still one of the legends there. Then you went to Georgetown, but Georgetown didn't quite work out. What happened to Georgetown?
I think
Just a mismatch of styles.
it's so many different stories. That's one. The style of play was definitely not my style of play. Um, Actually, it was a selfish thing. This is what I say now because Alonzo Mourning was a senior at the time, and everything revolved around Zoe. Rightfully so. He's
This
great.
was what, like 93, 94?
Yeah, 90. That was 91. 91,
okay.
92 year. And Zoe was the man. He was All American, and he earned everything that he got and received. So they wanted to put a team around Zoe.
Yeah, NBA Hall of Fame.
Players that can pass, players that can catch and shoot, and players that can defend. And that's what we were limited to. So I was cool with that while Zoe was there. But the following year he left, we brought in some young guys that couldn't fill his shoes. And I was better than them players, and I showed them in practice. But the coach still was trying to force it through the paint. He wanted to create a new Alonzo, and it wasn't working out. So
who was after Alonzo? Was it
Harrington.
It was Harrington, okay, and then Sweetney, right?
Yep. I miss Sweetney. I was gone before Sweetney got there.
Yeah, I like Sweetney. I've met Mike a couple times. He's a really good dude. But so then you go to Northeastern, then you start kind of coming out of your shell, going back to being who you are, which is actually not even a selfish player. You're actually very much an all-around player.
Right.
Points, rebounds, assists. You just care about winning.
Right.
So tell me about your couple years at Northeastern, because that was just a totally different experience.
It was a good experience, and it was actually different too, a different style of play because I had Dave Lato. He's a coach at DePaul now.
Plus, it got you out of DC.
Right. He was understudy for Calhoun at UConn, and he run the UConn style, the way he had Ray Allen playing, Rip Hamilton. They came off a lot of curls, a lot of stuff at the elbow, mid-range stuff. So that's a part of the game that I learned from Northeastern, because I really didn't have I could use mid-range, but I didn't concentrate on it enough. I didn't know how easy it was. Once you can master making those shots, it really opens the game up. It makes the game so much easier for you.
I was going to say, you came up in the 80s and 90s, mid-range was king. People only shot three-pointers if it was like the game winding down or just wide open.
Right, and I could do it, but I really didn't focus and concentrate on it. Like, I understood it because that's what most people did, like you said, back in those years. But when you concentrate on it and how easy it was to just concentrate on getting to those spots and making those shots, the game really became easy. Really became easy.
I mean, you look at UConn, Rip Hamilton made a life on those mid-range shots.
A life, yes. So we ran the same offense.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's missing from today's game. You got KD, you got a couple players that still do it, but and then if you're not a star and you do it, then you get ridiculed for not shooting a three or not going all the way to the basket. But
yeah,
that mid range is definitely it changes the entire pace of the game.
It does.
You went from games that were scoring 80, 90 to now 150, 130. The Rockets have like 80 points by halftime.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's just a different world now. I'm not gonna say better or worse. I'm not gonna be one of those old guys that sit there and criticize the game completely, but it's just a different level.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of hard to watch sometimes though, because now you can be a great player just shooting threes.
Yeah, I sat there and heard a story you had on one of your videos, and we'll talk about cheat code, something you were working on this summer later. But you were playing a guy in one of the park games, and he like went coast to coast on you and dunked the ball, and you went right back at him, and he didn't want to keep doing that. It's just a different mindset. Like, yeah, you might get beat one play, you might get beat two plays. Are you going to have the effort and the cardio to keep going?
The whole game. Yep.
Yeah.
Challenge them.
Yep. I mean, that's like having somebody having Kawhi on them. Like, are you going to want to keep, like, you can score on them once, sure. Can you keep scoring?
Yep. Can you keep doing it? It's all good early in the game, but when that clock starts ticking down fourth quarter, can you maintain it?
Exactly. So like I said, most people know you from the N1. That was probably when you got to mainstream ESPN, but you traveled quite a bit before all that. Like, what was it from 90? So 90, you missed one season. So 93 season you sat out, right? When you transferred.
Right.
So 94, 95, came out 96 undrafted, but you did get invited to a couple camps, didn't you? You like went to the Nets, I know for sure.
I was Orlando right after 96 when I got a Northeastern. I went straight to Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other camps did you get to? Because I know, like I know. So Orlando, the Nets were like probably the most famous one. I think I saw Milwaukee.
Milwaukee in between there, Miami,
Wizards.
The Wizards. Who else? Philly.
Now, as somebody who saw you back then, I know damn well you were talented enough to play in the NBA. So why do you think now, this is like 15, 20 years later, why do you think it never happened?
Because of Georgetown.
You think you were blackballed a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I know I was, because Minnesota GM at the time was frat brothers with the agent that I had out of Chicago. And he told him straight up, he was like, Coach had nothing good to say about him. One of the things they said, I was a troublemaker, which was not true. I've never gotten any trouble in my life. Not in college, not in the streets, nowhere.
He just didn't like your attitude.
Right, that wasn't true at all. And I didn't even have an attitude problem. Like, even at Georgetown, it was a reverse thing.
Was it one of those things where he just was so upset that you dare leave his program?
That, and that he couldn't break me. Like, he did things to try to bring me down, to upset me, piss me off. And I didn't show anything. I just did. I ran. He made me run. I ran. I'll try to be first. I run hard. I just did everything he asked me to do. I did everything he asked me to do. And, I wouldn't break.
There's something to be said about that, because you're not the first. I sat there and saw, you got players. Obviously, Iverson came out, and he's one of those talents that's so transitional that there's nothing Thompson could have done to hold him down.
Nothing.
You're talking about one of the top small players to ever play in the NBA, one of the top players, period, to ever play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And Thompson had to change up his entire coaching style to fit him. Later on, Victor Page, like in Iverson's second year. Yep. Then once Iverson left, he started trying to go right back in the middle, and they can't win games scoring 40, 50 points a game. Not in today's world.
Nah.
Even before he got fired and Ewing took over, Thompson III, great guy. I know him. I used to work on Georgetown's campus. Used to work at a bar right there. Great guy. I knew Roy Hibbert. I knew Jeff Green. All those guys coming in. Roy Hibbert's like the tallest man I've ever seen alive in person. I swear to God, I think I came, like, I'm 5'9". I think I came up to his waist.
He's a tough dude.
Yeah, he's tall. Like, you're a big dude. Like, he's like 6 inches taller than you.
Yeah.
7 inches taller than you, something like that. And super soft spoken. You never met a guy who sounds quieter. Like, you're talking about a guy, NBA ball player, does MMA, like he does like jujitsu and stuff on the side. And yet you talk to Roy Hibbert, you got to like lean in close because he like whispers. Like he came up to me one time to order something, and he was ordering some food to go to take back to his dorm. And I was like, what? I'm like, what? like, man, I'm not trying to be a jerk right now. Well, what are you saying? And he had to like lean down. It's like within like a foot of my face to like tell me what he wants because he just was so soft spoken. And I've heard through interviews throughout the years, he's still almost as soft spoken, a little bit louder, but he's just not comfortable talking. And it's crazy, like just to think how he's been in the spotlight this long. And you know, some people just aren't meant for the spotlight. And he's a great player, but he was just never comfortable being there. I think he's doing some coaching work with pros now, but I'm not sure exactly what he's doing right now. He's bounced around from a couple assistant roles. But you think you got blackballed. You did get blackballed, but you know, over time, you still had a lot of like, you hold probably most of the records in leagues like the USBL, early on in the NBDL. You played in the ABA. I think you played like just a tiny bit over in Venezuela. I was going to ask you, how come you didn't play more overseas?
Kept chasing that dream. Like my whole thing was, if it was for me, I was going to have it. So I didn't care about being blackballed or what people said or what people think or anything. You know, that was just a dream of mine. And and the main thing was, it wasn't even about the money. Like if those are the guys supposed to be the best players in the world, like I wanted to go and show my work. That's all it was. It was a challenge for me. It was a challenge.
Now I know like leagues like Europe and China and all that stuff is a different world now than it was back then. So it wasn't as prestigious to go play there. Is that why you kind of hung around the United States and some of the like developmental leagues?
Definitely. And then too, you get lost because people don't know when you go overseas, you got to forfeit going to an NBA camp because it's at the same time. Like you have to commit and sign a contract before NBA camps. So if you go to NBA camp, it's most likely you're not going to go overseas.
Yeah, I always read that was one of the big selling points of the USBL because they were done by June. They were done before the draft.
Right.
So a lot of like rising college seniors that would play in the league or guys that were trying to get one more shot would be able to be done before draft time.
Right. Yep.
That was a bad that you had some beast players like playing with you too. Like I can't remember the African dude's name, but he was coming in scoring like 33 points a game. You had Kurt Smith playing, legend. Kurt, like, well, you know, they call him trouble for a reason. Like he was just dropping from anywhere. Right. He was doing Steph Curry before I saw Steph Curry. Like Kurt was pulling up by damn near half court. Like the game me and my boy went to the first time, he pulled up like right outside the circle from half court at UDC. And he was doing it over and over again. It wasn't just once or twice. You were coming in, killing it. You were playing against a team that was wearing like a green jersey. It might even be in Tampa. Had this African dude who scored like 33 points on you guys. God, I need to look up. It's so hard to find stats from back then. But
Tunji Awajobi.
Maybe it sounds kind of familiar.
College might have been him.
But like he was like probably like 6'10", maybe. He was tall.
Oh, that ain't Tunji then. He said he was about 6'10".
Yeah, he was a little taller than you.
Gotta see who that is. You know, we had Greg Jones play with us too, and Moochie Norris.
Yeah, I mean, I love Moochie, man. Back, especially with like the Rockets and other stuff like that, Toronto, like he's in college. Like I love Moochie. Like I've been a big fan of Moochie.
That's my favorite point guard in this area.
Yeah, now he's been. I think the first place I ever saw him was probably the USBL with you.
Yeah.
Now that I look back at it, but because he was also not only was he like playing with you, but then he also made it to the pros. So I kind of followed him. So maybe that's exactly probably where I first saw him.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have seen him before then, but no, I've always been a fan of Moochie. I just love the way he plays. He hustles. He can actually shoot and score, but like he just nonstop hustle. High IQ, yeah. But he just has a motor, doesn't stop.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys. So what got you from, I mean, like I said, you were scoring like crazy and putting up big numbers. Like the first time I saw you, I came away like, who is that guy? And I thought I was a basketball guy that knew everything, and I had no idea. And so, because like I said, you were a background player in Georgetown, so people didn't really know who you were. Northeastern was kind of out of our radar, especially in the 90s. If you didn't live in a certain region, you didn't really see much games unless they were ACC or some other, or Big East or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like somebody local like George Washington or Mason or something like that. And I played with guys like, like Mikey Horton and others that went to Cincinnati and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, you were a new guy for me to see. And even like I played with Damon Jackson too, who went to Georgetown later. And
Jack, that's my guy.
yeah, Damon's my boy. Like we grew up across the street from each other, played basketball together forever. I grew up with Keith Bogans. So I've been around the game for a long time. And like I said, you were a new guy to me. And then all of a sudden you just seemed to go from 0 to 60, because while you didn't make it to the pro NBA level, then you got picked up by AND1, which had already had like a couple years before that, just kind of blowing up. They had like the mixtapes, and then they later on went to the ESPN, like the show and stuff like that. They had the tour.
Yeah.
And once they hit that tour and they started bringing in players like, yourself and everybody from like the Professor and Ali Mo and all these guys, AO, like some guys you might have seen in bits and pieces, because most of the AND1 mixtape was about Ray for Alston, Skip. And
Yep.
all of a sudden you see like it made Streetball hot sauce. Like it made Streetball like almost, I hate to say this to you, but it almost like ruined the game.
Yeah.
Like, because if you're somebody who likes to actually play to win, I hate to be the white guy saying that. That's kind of cliche.
That's how they set it up though. They wanted the entertainment to sell, which it did. The entertainment does sell, like hot sauce and Professor and everything. And Professor can actually play.
Yes, he still does it today. He does like
but
these.
The majority of the games though, we played against guys who can really play, and those little snippets they would show of like hot sauce doing his thing and stuff wasn't even a big part of the game. It was just what they wanted to show and what they wanted to sell. Yeah, but the game itself was real good basketball. Like it was competition. We played against some real talented players. Majority of the players we played against were NBA players and overseas players. So the guys who, the entertainment part, like I'll give you an example. I used to do the open run. I'll pick players to come inside. Like 2 or 3 players will win the competition at open run, and they can come inside and play in the game.
In every city you guys went to, yeah.
Yeah, so Sauce sometimes would come and be like, hey, bring him in. This is how smart he was. He could look and see who lateral footwork was horrible, who really couldn't play defense, and who he
can make a highlight off of.
So when that person subs in the game, that's when he's subbing the game. Like
who controlled that? Like when you guys were like going, like who was really coaching? Like just yourselves?
No, we had a coach both times. One, we had Mike, a guy named Mike one year, and then we had a guy named Steve the next year. So those 2 guys were the coaches. The players wanted an older player. They wanted somebody like at one point when Main Event was injured or whatever, he wanted to take over, or Shane. We wanted Shane to coach, but they wanted to bring somebody else in for whatever reason. And then it kind of hurt the tour because the players and the coaches wasn't getting along. I know myself personally, I was one of the older guys, and when we had Steve coaching, me and Steve bump heads all the time over stupid stuff though. It wasn't even basketball stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. Myself, Biz, Maine, Shane, we all got on the bus probably like 5 minutes late when we were overseas. And I got fined and they didn't. And when I brought it up, he was like, you snitching? You snitching? I'm like, nah, I'm not snitching. That's because them your buddies or whatever. It's not right that all of us late and you're going to find me and keep taking my money. And he was finding me for stupid stuff all the time.
So it was a favoritism thing.
To do with basketball. Yeah, it was personal. So he one of the reasons why it went downhill.
Yeah, I mean, I was always kind of wondering about that because obviously ESPN, they're only going to show the highlights. They're going to show what sells tickets. They're going to show what packs the arena. Same guy I went to see the USBL with. We went to see one of your AND1 games. You weren't on the tour yet, I think, at that point, but they were at the it's now the Capital One Arena. Back then, it might have been Verizon or even MCI at that point in DC. But it was like one of the early years, Escalade, all those guys, and it wasn't quite as competitive as maybe some of the games you're talking about later in the tours. Yeah. But because, it was one of those things like I know exactly where they all went out to like Berry Farms and picked up people. I know they went out to there was a pickup game, I think, over by your neck of the woods over in Eastern, like over by RFK and stuff like that. They had like some kind of pickup game, like they had set up a couple different, like 2 days before, like saying, hey, you guys, all right, now you guys can like qualify to come play against us.
Right.
And I still kind of regret not playing them back in those. Like I went to watch one. I was just like, man, these guys aren't that good. I was like, but I don't want to get on national TV and get embarrassed. So I'm like, nah. But
yeah,
I was like, I was a good little point guard back then, but I wasn't, college level maybe, but like not.
yeah. Hey, you had to be careful though. You get out there and get in front of AO and be like,
I just didn't want to end up on a highlight being played over 5 million times, especially like in the early days of YouTube and stuff like that. Like I didn't want that. And like some of the players I played with were killers too, like all of them D1, NBA. So it wasn't that, but
yeah,
it just wasn't worth the risk versus the reward, because if you did do something, you're not going to make it on TV. Like you get embarrassed.
Social media was like it is now when we was playing. Oh my goodness.
Except like that one time you guys lost. There was like that one time you guys lost, and that was like replayed like 5,000 times. Mm-hmm. I think it was like in Memphis or something like that.
No, we lost in New York.
New York, okay.
That's when Professor hit the game winner.
Okay, and that was going against you guys.
Yeah, and then the other time I didn't play the other loss. I had surgery on my thumb. Who did we lose to? I think we lost to a West Coast team.
Okay, yeah, like there was a couple of them, and then like that just kept getting replayed 1,000 times. So they kind of gave it back to you a little bit, but most of it was just highlights of you guys. And it was one of those things like where it did really kind of change the game. Like you sat there and you would go to a court to play, pick up, and one of the more popular courts out in Northern Virginia is a place called Nottoway. Most people know it if you know basketball. Grant Hill and everybody used to play out there. Mm. And at the time, and you're talking about 90s, early 2000s, top run, like that's where you go in VA to get a top level run, especially outdoors. Fast forward now, I can't even get a court outdoors with a rim on it in Tampa. I just want to say.
Really? Oh, so your rims are still down?
Still, Hillsborough County, they're still down. The parks have kind of opened back up. Wow. I still cannot find where I live east of Tampa. I have driven by a dozen parks. None of them have a rim. I am so desperate to get out and shoot around because that's my workout. Like I can go to a gym, it just don't feel good. But like me getting outside, that's different.
That's my whole thing. Like, who does that hurt? You pull rims down. Like, really, who does that hurt? Hurts the kids, first of all.
I get it, but at the same time, if you're going to allow indoor sports, then it kind of is counterproductive because you have more risk inside.
That's the thing. That's why I feel like this stuff is intentional, trying to force you to be inside. You get sick when you're inside. You need air. You need vitamin D.
That's why I won't go back to the gym right now. I'd rather go out running around or go swimming or go something.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. But also outdoor basketball courts. So my neighborhood around here, it's a park, but it's caged, it's fenced up and everything. The kids popped the chains. They had the wood things over top of the rims with the locks on it. They broke them off and everything. So then the city, the recreation department, they just let them do it.
They were going to go through the effort to redo it now.
Yeah, they'll lock the gate at a certain time, but then they'll open it in the morning like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. and allow people to come in.
Because I know they would just keep breaking it.
Yeah, keep on breaking it or jumping the fence. So, yeah.
That's one thing I kind of miss about living in the hood a little bit. It's like, it's community rule. Like, it's not, you can, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But it's one of those things like, especially for me, like, I don't want to go out and run actually. Like, I'm way out of shape. I don't want to go out and play. Yeah. But during the day when my daughter's in school, when my wife's at work, when I'm not recording, I would love to go out, shoot around, work out, get some sprints in, get some exercise in, right?
Yep.
Like that's how I exercise. That's how I get in shape. Not necessarily by going to the gym. I go to the gym, I get bored. You run on a treadmill for 30, 40 minutes an hour. It's just like, all right, I'm listening to this music, but okay, I'm bored now. You get out playing, even if you're playing by yourself, even if you're just like shooting around and running, in your mind, you have an object, you have a challenge, you have something you're pushing yourself, Ray Allen would go out and shoot, 1,000 jump shots,
Yeah.
It's not only is it getting better, but it's exercise. It's the way some people do it. Some people like to run in the street because they can't run in the gym. Like it's just a different world. And I feel like personally, like I feel like the gym is like a petri dish. I feel like you're putting yourself in there, whether you have a mask or not. It's a risk, and you're still a risk outdoors. But I feel like there's enough social distance. I feel like there's enough space. People aren't standing next to each other. They're moving, there's just a million other things. And if I'm going to risk it, I'd rather be outdoors than indoors.
Yeah, that makes sense. Big time.
I mean, that's just me, but I mean, everybody has to make their own personal decisions on the whole thing. But
yeah, I'm the same way. I definitely rather be outdoors in the air, especially. And I just started back playing, so in the summertime, I was outside playing all the time on the concrete, whatever. It just felt good. And then that sweat, like that outdoor sweat when it's hot outside, you could tell that that's like toxin release. Like, I don't know what's the difference. Like indoors and outdoors for me, when I play basketball outside, it's just a much better feeling.
even when I played competitively, I didn't like it playing inside.
Yeah.
I would always go run outside to the court somewhere.
That's because being from here, though, that's all we had. We didn't have the gyms. Like, well, you was in Virginia, y'all had a few gyms, but we didn't have.
But even then, like I would be one of the solo white people running out at Berry Farms.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be that, hey, oh, there's the white guy. That's him. Like, that was me. 96 to like through 2000. That was me. Just let y'all know. I'm older and fatter, but that was me. But yeah, like I ran with those dudes. Like I told you, like some of the guys before I was saying, like we went around, we run and shoot out in Upper Marlboro. Like when that first opened up, we were there every night. Like not even like 6, 8 o'clock. Now we were there running from like midnight to like 3 a.m. That was when the real run was. A lot of people didn't know.
Yeah, that was the spot right there.
And I'm pretty sure I saw you up there a couple times too. Like,
yeah.
And then we'd probably start leaving when as soon as we leave, like you think it's over. Nope, the postal workers are rolling in before work and they getting their workout in. When that thing sold and got flipped over a couple times, I think it's run and shoot again now, but it never was the same after that first magical.
It's Athletic Republic now, and they're expensive too. They high, so a lot of people don't go. It's used mostly now for tournaments, leagues, and team practices and stuff like that.
Yeah, we went out there, and then we started. Then in Chantilly, they opened up Hoops Magic. You had people like Karan Butler and all them running out there. I still remember the time, and talk about snitching. I can say it now. I'm not going to hurt you, Karan, because this is like 20 years ago. So I don't think the coach is going to bench you now. But there was a time he missed the Wizards were playing, maybe the Bullets back then. But the Wizards were playing a daytime game, and me and my boys were over in Hoops Magic getting some work in. And here comes Karan Butler with like 3 of his buddies. At first, they were just shooting around. Then they were playing 21. And then they were obviously like the kids all came running over once they realized who was in the gym. And he was having a good time playing with them. But he was playing pretty serious with his boys. He wasn't playing like, oh, I'm injured. Don't touch me. Let me just shoot around. Let me get some work in. He was banging with them. And he was goofing off and stuff. And I was just like, aren't you supposed to be out with a foot injury?
That was his time trying to get back. He was going to test it out.
Well, that was when he was an all-star. Like that was like he had played like 2 days before that, and for whatever reason he wasn't playing that afternoon. Yeah. And then he just all of a sudden he was at that Hoops Magic, and I've seen him there a few times. That's like close to where he was living.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I played there with him and Gilbert before.
Yeah, I've seen Gilbert out there. Shamika Holtzclaw was out there quite a bit. Brendan, Haywood.
Is that still open?
No, yes and no. It changed names. It's kind of like the same thing. It's mostly for teams and stuff like that now. I don't think it has any kind of open runs anymore like it used to.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check. My boy still lives out there. I have to give him a call later. I've been out there in years. I just moved to Florida in August, but before that I was still like I just played in DC or in Maryland or somewhere.
Yeah.
I really haven't been out in VA for a while. So, but as always, Certified Podcast getting sidetracked. Let's get back to you. So let me ask you this, because this is mostly a conversation, kind of goes where it goes. But What's the craziest story? I got to get some juicy stuff. What's the craziest story from that N1 tour besides you getting fined? Like, give me one.
There's so many. You'll be easier giving me a subject, and I can give you a crazy story about it.
All right. I know Shane Wiles out. Give me a story about the dribble machine.
Man, Shane, goodness gracious. There's so many. He tortured.
Because I've seen him in and out of DC. I know he wiles out.
He tortured Professor. He tortured Hot Sauce.
Just like Ribbon, just like playing jokes and stuff.
Yeah. Shoot. His guy, Pharmacist, that's his man. Him and Pharmacist really close. That's like his little brother. He tortured Pharmacist. Shane is a clown. He's a comedian. So he's a jokester. So he always got a joke for you. He always talking trash. I'm trying to think of a good one from Shane. It's so many. So many. His is more verbal than anything. You know what I mean? It's not any like crazy actions and
He's
stuff.
just playing with you.
Yeah, I can give you something crazy with AO. AO, now he's the physical one. He's the one who's actually going to do something that's crazy and wild. So one time we were in a hotel in Ohio, I think.
Your twin brother?
Yeah. And, Fess was asleep. Professor was, he a good kid. He go out and party and stuff
And
too.
why you always got to pick on the white dude, man?
Always. Oh, that. And he was asleep. So they called down the professor room and got him to come out of his room. And when he left out his room, now this is late at night. This is like 1, 2 o'clock, whatever. He was asleep. We just got in. So they called from the front desk, and AO got the people to call him. He leaves out his room. When he leave out, AO got the key. He goes in his room and flips everything. He flips the mattress off the beds, take all the sheets and everything off. He take the TV and put it on the floor, turn the chairs upside down, the tables upside down, everything, and leaves. And then he put something on his doorknob too. So when he put the key in to open the door, it was wet. It was something he put on there. I don't know what he put on there.
I don't think we want to know.
Nah. So when he goes back upstairs,
our PG rating's going out the door.
Right. So he's tired. He's asleep. So when he go back upstairs and open his door and see that, and when he flipped it, he put ice all over the mattress and everything. So when he flipped it, when he go in the room and go see the room is just tortured and destroyed. And you sleepy, you tired. You don't have time to try to switch rooms and everything. So he got to put everything back so he can go to sleep.
And this is one of those things where y'all probably only staying for the night, right?
Yeah, but we're not. You know what? That's the crazy thing. That's one of the things I like the most. We would be in the city for probably a week before we play. We play one game.
That's true, because the playing games and everything else. Yeah.
Or 3 days. Yeah, we'll be there early. So like we played in DC and we play in New York next. We'll leave. We'll be in DC. Say the game Thursday. We'll probably be in DC Monday or Tuesday. Then we'll play Thursday and we'll leave right after the game and go to New York. And then the game in New York, we'll be there Friday. The game might not be till Tuesday. So we always go in and do our promo, do the advertising and all that stuff, do the open runs. We'll go play at a park, wherever the best player is supposed to be at in that city. It could be in the hood or whatever. Even in Chicago, we went in the hood. Like we there, we pop up, cameras and all, and we go out there and play against whoever out there or whoever the best players. But usually they'll call, they'll find out who the best players are, and somebody will reach out to them and get the best players to come and just play straight up street ball game. That was the best part. They should have filmed, they did film all of those, but it's over with now. But they can go in the archives and pull out all those, and that could be like a whole another tour. And it's not the open run, it's actually us. Like when we go down Berry Farms, we play against the best players from Berry Farms. We did that everywhere. So they could really pull that out the archives and make that a show in its own.
Have they finished renovating Berry Farms yet?
Oh, they did it, yeah, about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. I know when they were doing the whole Eastern area and they were building the new entertainment arena over there for the Go-Go's and for the Mystics. I knew they were redoing the whole area around Berry Farms too.
Yeah, it's shut down now. Like this was gonna be the last season. They shut it down. It's Homeland Security. That's their neighborhood now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a done deal.
Lots of stories from that place.
Yeah.
Not all of them good. So my favorite, I'm gonna tell you right now, like obviously you, Main Event, Shane, Hot Sauce, a lot of you guys got the press. Ali Mo was my favorite. Black Widow, like I could watch that dude play forever. When I thought he should be in the league. Like I thought he should have been in the league. I thought he should have been him. I know Main Event had a couple like tryouts. I always thought Main Event, no matter how great he was, a little undersized for what he did. Like he was like a power forward in a shooting guard's body. Because he was only like what, 6'4"?
Yeah, man, about 6'4".
He reminded me of a guy named Aaron I played out at Nottoway, just built like a football player. But Main Event could jump through the roof. Like he could jump, he's powerful. He just unfortunately undersized for what he did. Not too many Charles Barkleys in the world, not too many
right.
Even Zion nowadays. Obviously, Maine wasn't on that level of athleticism, but like he definitely had the skill level to play in the next level. But maybe if today's game, he'd probably have a better shot. But I always thought Ali Mo and I thought AO probably had the best shot.
I give like when I critique players, I try to be transparent without being negative or anything. I try to give a straight up, evaluation of players. And from my experience in Maine, like you said, one, he's undersized. He was big, but not as big as an Anthony Mason. But Anthony Mason was 6'6", 6'7".
And by the way, RIP to
yep.
Tyron Evans. Unfortunately, Alamo passed away in like 2013, I think, or something. But
yeah,
but
and he he didn't have a lot of guard skills. He started picking them up more so when he got older. He started trying to handle the ball. He's working on his shot more. But that was the thing with him. He was undersized for his position. Alimo had the skills. Alimo didn't have the foot speed to play in the league. Like, he was a stationary ball in hand player. Like, today he could play because you look at Luka Doncic, right? But Alimo didn't.
He was about the same size as you, though, right? Wasn't he the same height? Close to it?
Yeah. His foot speed was just slower. He just, like now today with the game, ball in hand, it would benefit him because he could have the ball in his hand and create and stuff. But back when we was coming out, it wasn't none of that. Teams was running offenses and they were getting it done, like, collectively. But now today it's a selfish game. So a lot of people will be able to play in the NBA today. If Skip was playing in the NBA today, even though he had success while he was there back then, if Skip was playing the league today, he'd be a terror.
Yeah, I mean, he was up and down in his career. He ran into the same headaches that you ran into. Coaching didn't really want to let him be who he was. Skip, for better or worse, he needed the ball in his hands. He needed to be able to be a playmaker. He wasn't just a scorer. He could actually, create for other people. He just, whenever he'd go into quote unquote that and one style, he'd instantly get sent to the bench. The coaches back then, they were old school. They didn't like it, especially in Toronto. I feel like he had more success in Houston, but that was also because, they had Mac and everybody else. Orlando,
they had a chance to beat the Lakers, but they brung Jameer Nelson back that game 6 when his shoulder was destroyed, and they just did Skip dirty.
All right, so you're a professional athlete. Answer me this. I've always wondered this. On a professional level, you have 12, 13 guys on that bench. I think it's 13 now, 12 then, active players, right?
Right.
All of those 12 guys were college all-stars. Like, I always hate the people that say, like, oh, like, Kentucky could beat the Wizards when the Wizards sucked and stuff. I'm like, no, because every player on the Wizards was a star in college or in high school. Like, if, like, the worst pro team would blow out the best college team every day. But like, when a player goes down, like Jameer Nelson messed up his shoulder, or even like somebody as great as LeBron James hurts his ankle and goes down, and the bench player comes in. Why is it such a rush to get the star back out there playing hurt than to put in that backup who, for better or worse, he's not the star, but he's still a pretty damn good player? Like, why? Like, I just don't understand. Like, is a 50% star better than a 100% bench player?
That's the best question anybody asks, and it's a great example. And we could speak about LeBron when it comes to this. People wonder why teams usually fail when Bron not playing, when Bron is out. If you look at the Lakers this year, they succeeded when he was out, and the reason why is the style of play. So Bron is a ball in hand player. Now, to substitute Bron, you have to bring in a player that's similar. You have to bring in a player who can play with the ball in hand, facilitate, and, do those things. Bron plays a really slow-paced game. He holds the ball, he dribble. People set screens. It's predicated around players making shots. That's why Green gets criticized. That's why Kuzma gets criticized, because if they standing there and we on TV looking at it like, oh, they missing these open shots, it's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Allen can sit there and do that. Kyle Korver can sit there and do that. So the reason why, the players, the team is built that way, because it's built around LeBron's style. So before the Lakers got what's his name? Rondo. They had Ball, right? Ball, and when Rondo was there too, Rondo was hurt most of the time. Ball and Rondo makes players around them play faster.
Mm-hmm.
You look at this season, right? When the one playoff game Bron set out, Kuzma had like 36 playing with Rondo. They won by freaking 40 points. something crazy like that.
Because of the pace.
Speed the pace up and things like that. Now rewind back and let's bring it right to your question. At Cleveland, when Bron go out the game, who came in?
See, back then, I really don't even tell you.
Nobody. So now,
but they also had Kyrie.
Right. When he had Kyrie, they had success. But when they practice his style.
Well, let's go back even further. Even when they had Larry Hughes, I mean, he's always had somebody. I hate the argument that he had nobody.
Yeah, that's the excuse. But the style of play, whoever that person is coming off the bench, has to be able to pick out the style that they practice the most. That's how they prepare. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to do the similar things to what he does when he goes out the game. So that's why if he gets hurt, now you got Rondo, you'll be fine. You know, you still don't replace him because his numbers is just stupid, which helps the team out. But you got to have a player that can come in that can still play that same style of play because the coach is not going to change.
Well, see, they do it. They don't even just do it with LeBron. Like they do it with Jameer Nelson was an all-star, but they do it with a player like Jameer Nelson. And to me, it's just like I sat there and saw, like, I'm a Bulls fan, and even today, and I sit there and I see like Zach LaVine go out with an ankle injury for a few games. And he comes back and it takes you a few games to kind of get back in your rhythm, especially coming off an ankle or anything like that. Couple games to get used to jumping again before you can trust it again or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's out there playing full-time minutes, looking like a shell of himself, right? Like he's not looking like him. And yet you got a guy like Kobe White on the bench who's ready to roll. And he's getting a fraction of the minutes, even though he might have scored 30 the night that Zach was out. And I just don't get the obsession. And I know NBA is a star-driven league, but I just don't get the obsession with continue to play players that just aren't 100%.
We forgot the biggest thing though too, the money, the incentives.
That's always the biggest thing.
You got to get a certain amount of points or assists to get this bonus and stuff like that, or you got to make the All NBA second, third team.
Yeah, they got fulfill those contracts, get paid. The stars. I mean, like I said, I understand why the stars want to be out there.
Yeah.
Like, you can go in any league, whether it's the NFL and you got, a defensive end who has like, I need one more sack to get that $1 million bonus. I get it,
right.
But the NBA, especially since it's a more, 5-on-5, the least amount of people on the court, least amount of people on the roster for many of the major sports. Hockey, I guess, is similar, but, it's one of those things where everything is like more personable in the NBA, right? Like one person can change a game.
Yep.
That's as much as everybody knows, if they follow Prime on any social media anywhere in the world, Tom Brady's his dude. Tom Brady got hurt. Matt Castle came in and they still won 11 games.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in other sports, if one guy, no matter how great they are, goes down, if you have a solid team around them, the team might not be as successful, but they're still going to be pretty successful.
They're going to be successful, yeah.
In basketball, for the most part, Michael Jordan goes down. Kobe goes down. LeBron goes down. Like LeBron went down last year, they didn't make the playoffs. And those young kids that they were all building around, all of a sudden were out the door and they brought in AD. Now I get it. I get why they brought in AD. He's arguably the top 3, top 4, top 5 guy in the NBA. Definitely one of the top 2, 3 big men in the NBA. And anybody says, LeBron did this alone, that's, excuse my language, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Davis was 100% just as much responsible for this championship as LeBron.
That's why I don't like.
And that's not knocking LeBron. It's not knocking. Like I hate anytime you say something bad about LeBron, the whole world could, you're a hater.
Right. And your statement didn't say anything negative, but his fans will go crazy by you just 100%. Giving somebody else credit.
I'll piss them all off right now. Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Watch the flame.
It's not even a question though. It's not even a conversation.
Not for real people that know basketball, but it's a fandom. It's a generation thing. Like if you had sat there in our generation and said Dr. J was the GOAT or Wilt or Bill Russell or Magic or Bird, we all would defend Jordan, right? I get it.
It's guys our age too though that be saying the same thing.
They're just living in the moment. Yeah. You talking about D-Jack. Like Damon Jackson, he goes on social media. Like I know he thinks Jordan's the GOAT, but he's sitting there and flames it because he posts everything LeBron like 24/7. It's living in the moment. I get it. And LeBron, like I say this all the time, he's one of the top, probably the top most naturally gifted athletes to ever play in the NBA. That doesn't mean you're the best. And it's not an insult.
Right.
If you sit there and say LeBron's a top 5 player in the NBA, they all go batshit crazy because you're not saying he's number 1.
Right.
And it's not an insult. And everybody's going to have their own personal opinions. Me, Jordan was a killer. LeBron's not. He would rather facilitate and get somebody else in the game.
Yeah.
That's in order to be the best. I put Kobe above LeBron.
Yeah.
And that's not, like I said, it's not an insult. Like, these guys are people that LeBron looks up to.
Right.
Ask him. He'll tell you.
Just said. Did you see what KD just said?
No, I missed it.
I gotta find that for you. I want to say the exact quote. So he pretty much what he's talking about is he's saying that he understands. He hear everybody saying in the media that Bron is the GOAT and everything. He said, but what he did against Bron, he pretty much is like, would that make me then? Okay, here it is. He said, people try to discredit my rings, but honestly, I feel like they're the most valuable of our era. People argue LeBron is the GOAT, but if I beat him in back-to-back finals, then what does that make me? And people say, oh, he went to a 73-9 with whatever team and this, that, and the other. The Cavs beat them without him, right?
And by the way, thank you, LeBron, because as a Bulls fan, it doesn't mean a thing without the ring.
Doesn't mean a thing without the ring, exactly. Then you fast forward, KD gets hurt. They lose to Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference is they say, oh, but KD lost to them in the playoffs. He going to go join a 72-9 team or whatever. No, that's not how it worked. They begged. They called KD all season long while they were winning, trying to get KD to come to Golden State.
Same thing they're doing with Giannis now.
Right. KD was going to Boston. He was going to meet Kyrie in Boston. Him and Kyrie planned to play with each other long before that.
So
that was a political movement. It was a Nike and Under Armour thing. See, I'm breaking this news on your show right now. It was a Nike versus Under Armour thing.
Now you're going to make me throw a breaking news graphic up.
Steph Curry won chips. He got MVP, and he had the top-selling shoe at the time. His sneaker was hot. Nike had no presence in the Bay Area during that time. Curry killed him. They gave KD a detour, sent them there. What did the media say? Oh, he can't get MVP, or Curry can't get MVP because they're on the same team playing together. Why was LeBron and AD in the MVP runnings then? Are you telling me that Curry and KD better than LeBron and AD? Possible. Maybe not. But why couldn't they be MVP? Why could these two be MVP, right? So then, after that whole situation, they went and met in the finals, right? The common denominator was the Cavs Golden State didn't have anybody to compete against LeBron. They had, what's his name? Guarding him. What's the boy name? Draymond. They had Draymond guarding him, but Draymond couldn't score. And Draymond couldn't put any pressure on LeBron. He didn't have to play any defense.
And Clay was too small.
KD. What happened? They beat him 4-1, and they swept them. That's a head-to-head matchup of two giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to say, oh, they won 72-9. You had Kyrie and Curry. Swipe that. You could take that and call that even. You got Kevin Love.
Yeah, Kevin Love made the big difference in that one.
Yeah, you got Kevin Love. So don't sit there and make these excuses of these matchups when you got the biggest matchup who's going to determine the difference in the game. Bron was going to determine it for the Cavs. KD determined it for Golden State. So
I also hate the argument that people people always say LeBron never played with anybody, right? Because he's such a dominant star that he overshadows the people that he's with, right?
Everybody.
Like Michael played with Scottie. Scottie was one of the top 3 or 4 players in the NBA at the time he played, but he wasn't Michael Jordan. And the same thing, LeBron is one of the top, probably the top player throughout the time he's been in the league, but he's not, but you got Kyrie. Kyrie's not LeBron. Kevin Love is not LeBron. But LeBron couldn't have won a title without those guys. Kevin Love was getting 20 and 20 every night in Minnesota.
And Bosh.
And Bosh, another guy who dominated and took a backseat role to go play to win championships. Only guy that didn't take a backseat role was Wade, and it showed when LeBron was sitting in the corner, not even trying to get the ball against Dallas in that finals. Mm-hmm. People forget, and it's not a knock against LeBron.
It's not.
But when you sit there, he played with Wally Zerbiak. People are like, oh, Wally who? Wally was an all-star before LeBron.
Right.
In Minnesota. He was an all-star. And he came to play with him. Guess what?
Went down here.
but he didn't go downhill too far. Like he was still like getting double digits in points. He was still an all-star in Cleveland. It just, he wasn't LeBron. And so then all of a sudden you're like, well, and back then LeBron dominated the ball way more than he does up until, well, this year he went back to playing like a point guard. It's a little different, but like,
that's the same thing with AD now. Like, I'm sure AD, he gonna keep quiet. He's not gonna speak on it. But I'm sure he cannot stand that Bron gets all the credit. He's getting all the talk and everything, all the work that he put in.
You might know more than I do. You might know more than I do insider wise, but people say it's a lock for him to go back to LA. Only reason I think he might go back to LA is because it's a short off season and there's not a lot of time to move around.
Right.
And for a long time, he said he would never come to Chicago. But Chicago's got a new front office and they're going to make a push for AD 100% and don't consider a lock for him to go to LA, to stay in LA.
I'm going to tell you another thing too, though. This was another thing. He was supposed to this year end up at the Knicks with KD and Kyrie.
I never put anything into a Knicks rumor.
But no, it was true because this is what it is. This is the back scene. This is another thing, a backdoor thing for you.
I've heard KD never wants to play for the Knicks.
Clutch Sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Clutch Sports and it's a Rock Nation thing. And that's why Clutch ran and got AD. Rock Nation was playing.
Isn't Rock closer to the Nets because of Jay-Z?
Yep, that's what it is. So that's the thing. It was a New York thing. They was putting this powerhouse in New York, and Clutch and LeBron knew if they didn't get AD and allow AD to go play with them, they knew it was over. The league was over with. So what they did, they became his agent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way they persuaded him to come. AD didn't want to go to LA now. He wanted to wait until, LeBron ran to LA because LA was the prime location for everybody. Kawhi wanted to go there.
Well, I mean, LeBron went there for movies and stuff like that. He went for his other businesses. It wasn't for basketball.
Yeah, but
he can say all publicly he wanted to go for the legacy, and he went for like his movie studio and doing the Space Jam and everything else he's trying to do in his other ventures. That was a business move.
Yeah, and he rushed to beat all them there too, because he figured like once I get here, now whoever want to come, they can still come while I'm here. And he knew it's an attraction. But it was a fight. It's a power thing. It's New York versus LA now. So it's Clutch Sports and Rock Nation. That's the fight. That's the power. And the Nets not done. The Nets not done. They're gonna pull a string on somebody else right now. They got the best, they got the most trade pieces as a total. They got players that they can ship out and pretty much get whoever they want.
You see, that's what I love about the NBA though. Like those, they can build up all the super teams they want. In reality, I mean, Milwaukee's probably gonna be blowing up after Giannis leaves as a free agent. I mean, I hope he stays, but I don't.
He might stay. He not the type. He not.
He might, but I'll throw somebody like people don't really listen to. Dallas is making a full court push for him.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Dallas with Giannis, Porzingis, and Luka?
That'd be
going to be the best team for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, forget the Golden State rumors. If he goes to Dallas, no matter who they got coming off that bench around him, you know, they can bring in all the Trey Burks they want. They can bring in, you know, maybe get Hardaway to get a cheaper contract or whatever. If they bring in Giannis, Dallas is going to kick LA's ass, both of them. And also, I'll tell you this much. In my opinion, if Giannis, if the Bucks didn't lose to the Heat, and you know as much as I do, matchups are everything. Miami was a bad matchup for them.
Yeah.
They were a team that could play physical with them, throw a bunch of shooters in different positions, like Olenek and all those guys that just made them, like, Lopez goes in against any other team, the center doesn't want to go out to the three-point line with him. Miami, they don't care. Bam will go out there. All of them will go out there. And they'll go inside and beat you up. So, you know, those Jay Crowders and everybody in the world, that Miami was built to be a playoff team. There may not be, they're missing somebody to be a championship team. Like you saw Jimmy got wore out, but you get that one more player for Miami to go with Bam and Jimmy, they're going to be dangerous. But if the Bucks had played the Lakers in that finals, the Bucks would have won. Yeah. It's just a bad matchup for LA.
It is. And Dragic would have helped. Dragic would have helped.
And Bledsoe would be just as I don't want to say dirty, but just as physical with Rondo as Rondo was with him. Like they would cancel each other out. Like Rondo intimidates a lot of people. He wouldn't intimidate Bledsoe.
He do.
I mean, I'll tell you shit. I'm a Bulls fan. When he played the Bulls with the Celtics and he threw Kirk Hinrich into the scorer's table and he basically punched Brad Miller, like that's what Rondo does. You know, when Rondo came back as a Bull and played the Celtics in that playoffs, Avery Bradley and them, they didn't want to see Rondo.
Yeah.
We were up 2-0 until Rondo got hurt, and then the Celtics swept the other 4 games.
Yeah.
He's a dangerous player. But I'm gonna get back to you for a little bit because I don't want to hold you up too long today. It's always fun talking basketball and getting sidetracked with you, but you got a lot of stuff going on right now. You know, you've done your N1, you've done your career, you've had your moment in your shine, but now you're kind of giving back to a lot of coaching. You've single-handedly raised up some of these girls in this DC area from like almost, I don't know, was it elementary or just middle school? Did you start with them?
Elementary.
And you got these girls going into high school, into college, and all this other stuff. You've been working with them for quite a while. And I know how rewarding that is to you. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. And then I also wanted to give you a chance to talk about some of your other projects like #CheatCode and the new Christian Academy you're coaching at. So the floor is yours. If you want to start talking about how you really got into like coaching the girls.
Okay. Well, one of my friends, when I first moved back to DC, I was training his daughter. And then she just started coming with her teammates and her friends. And then he got a son. He has a son too. And the son was a little older. So we had started a team for his son. And I knew nothing about AAU. And he was just like, man, we could start our own team because we had a bunch of kids at the gym at the time. Like once I started training, they started, word of mouth started getting around and the gym started getting packed. And it was a bunch of kids who wanted to learn, weren't the best kids, and they were getting cut from AAU teams or they was playing on teams when they was on the bench. So we just started our own team. But the whole girls thing came about was I got a little pissed off at the young boys' parents because they was talking all this NBA stuff. And I'm like, I done been through that circle and how difficult it is. And it's not just because, you're getting a little premature success right now. You think you can make it to the NBA. It's so much more. But they didn't understand that. They just kept on, beating it in the head. Oh, NBA. And I just couldn't take it. So I was training the girls.
You were always built for coaching because you've always been one of the more intellectual guys playing the game. Like you see the whole court, you see the plays. You were talking about that story about going up and down, wearing the guy out, cutting angles, doing all that other stuff. Like,
yeah,
when it comes to the game, no matter what level it's been on, you've always been one of those guys that can do a little of everything. And I would assume, you would make a fantastic coach. So listening is always the hardest part with some of these kids.
It is big time. And that's the thing, like with girls now. So when I started coaching the girls, the style that I had on the play was different from how everybody else is playing in this area. And some of the parents, like one of my good friends, we talk all the time, and his daughter was on my team and he pulled her off and we're friends. He pulled her off. He said, I got to get her ready for you because the way that I play is like you just said, I don't do the basic, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Because girls are going to do exactly what you tell them. If you tell a girl that you run to that, you teach them a play, they're going to run the play. They're not going to know why they run the play.
Not as hard-headed as the boys.
Right. They're not going to be able to read defenses, the options and all that. And that's what I bring to the table. Like now I'm the head coach at this high school, Emerge Christian Academy. And we're playing fall league. And that's our struggle in the beginning. We got talent. We got all the talent. We got the skill and everything. But I'm forcing them to play a college style offense where you read and react off of the defense. So we could be in a set. And when we do our entry to the set, whatever the defense does, you all have to pay attention collectively and read it and, make a play off of it. And we're struggling doing it. So we lost some games and everything. And people like questioning like, oh, they losing. They too good to be losing. But they don't understand fall league is practice for one. Mm-hmm. And the second, when they do get it down, their IQ going to rise. They're going to be able to play for any coach. And when you play us again, once they get it, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly.
You're developing the foundation.
Right. Developing that whole foundation. And I love coaching because too, it challenges me. Like I'm always a student. At first it was the NBA. I look at the NBA totally different. Like if I say something, and everybody talks about LeBron. If I say something about a deficiency that he has, people go crazy. They don't want to listen. But then when he get in those situations and it shows, now they like, oh, he was right.
But they won't tell you that.
They will never tell you that. And even when I talk about the makeup of his teams, like what he needs to his team, first of all, he needs the best defenders and he needs great shooters. And he needs one player that can be one-on-one under 7 seconds. That's what he needs. So that's why AD That's why people get a whole lot of shot clock shots, or I call the shot clock shot the last 7 seconds, because you really don't have enough time to really scope out what's going on and get a bucket. Only a few can do that. Kyrie could do it. D Wade could do it. You see? And now on this team, you got AD. So that's a necessity that he has to have, because he's not good under 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And an example of that shot that they killing Danny Green. That shot he killing Danny Green.
They're going to need to stop bashing my UNC guy, by the way.
Yeah, and
I am a Tar Heel. Like, I'm going to defend my boy.
That was a horrible shot. And I'm going to tell you why it was a horrible shot. Danny Green set that pick. Soon as Bron came off the pick, he was at the elbow. They doubled at the elbow. That second Danny Green is open. If he would have kicked to Danny Green right there, Danny could have either made that shot, or guess what? The two best players, now listen to what I'm saying. The two best players on the Lakers were sitting on that opposite wing. Mm-hmm. KCP and Anthony Davis. If you look at the finals, KCP had the biggest shots and made the biggest defensive plays in that final.
Yeah,
nobody says anything about KCP. Nobody. But Bron wanted to be involved in that assist. He has no plays that he's made in the finals to decide a game.
He wanted to build his stats.
He wanted to go in his stats, that he made that pass for the game.
He was a triple-double every night. Yep.
So when he didn't pass it at the elbow when Danny Green was open, he looked and dribbled down, tried to kill some more time to draw the defense in, but it wasn't smart because you got somebody in the corner and Crowder sitting there. So now you're running into 3 people.
It wasn't smart, but I will say in Danny Green's defense, I mean, it wasn't his fault. He got passed the ball on the spot. He had to take the shot. But in San Antonio and Toronto, Danny Green knocks that shot down.
But no, did you see where the ball went, though? The ball was by his ankle.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a clean pass either.
Yeah, he had to bend down. Now, you could do that to any shooter.
He had a good look. He had a good look, though. He should have hit it.
He had a good look. He definitely had a good look. But that's why I was short, though, because it wasn't a rhythm shot. Yeah. Because after you open for that split second when he had the elbow and the double come, you're waiting for that shot then you're going to relax for a second to see what he's doing. He probably thought Brown was going to shoot it or pass it to somebody else.
That's the one thing about LeBron holding the ball so long. People sit around and watching him. Right. And they fall asleep.
Because then, too, Danny Green has been shooting the greatest. So he was like, oh, he ain't pass it to me. He probably thought he was going to shoot it himself or go to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Then he throws it back and it still goes down. People got to understand the mental part of basketball. Basketball is a mental game as well.
Oh, 100%. No matter how good a shooter you are, whether you're Ray Allen, if you're used to shooting every shot off a right-hand dribble or a left-hand dribble, even that small little, Ray Allen's probably the worst example in the world. He'll hit it no matter what. But, if you're a rhythm shooter, I'll go back. John Starks. John Starks could hit 6 threes in a row. He could also miss 8 threes in a row.
Yeah.
Just depends on how he caught the ball, how he got in rhythm. If he, he wasn't a spot-up shooter. He was more run to his right, pull up. Same thing when he went in for that dunk. Everybody thought he was going to shoot the ball, and he just kept going. It's all about, if somebody played basketball my entire life, and I'm not on your level, I'm not on, clearly not on LeBron's level, I'm not any of that level, even me, if you get me in my certain spots and you get me the ball in rhythm, I'm gonna knock it down every single time.
Right.
But if you get me off my spot, it's 50-50.
Right.
And I'm a pretty good shooter. So somebody like Danny Green is a professional who's been knocking it down big shot after big shot, he might not be Robert Horry with 7 finals, but he's done it in San Antonio. He's done it in Toronto. He's going to, if you get him the ball in rhythm, he's most likely going to have a good chance to make that shot. So when the ball's down around his ankles, obviously it's going to mess everything up.
Yeah. But this whole coaching thing is a great experience, and I'm embracing it. This is my girl.
Do they give you some kind of a timetable, like a contract, or are you kind of doing year to year?
So this year is definitely year to year because the new school, they don't even have an athletic program. We're building it. We're just starting. Okay. But I do like the people at the school, the head of the school, the board. They're one of the board members, a woman. She's definitely a basketball person, and we get along really well. She's all supportive, and she's excited to see us girls that's playing on this level. So it immediately takes the school that has no sports to all of a sudden a national powerhouse. Immediately. So that's a good thing. And then I got all my kids with me. Every girl on my team right now, I know. I've been on, So I'm recruiting now, trying to get younger because I got 4 seniors, 5 juniors, 1 sophomore, 1 freshman. Mm-hmm. I got a transfer coming in now that's a sophomore, a big kid. And I'm just working, to build that up. I got some 8th grade. The school starts at 8th grade.
Yeah, it just goes back to what you're talking about, building foundation. A lot of times they don't give these coaches enough time. If you don't win instantly, it's like, all right, next.
But that's what they do, though. AAU did that.
Yeah, and it's not even on the pro and college level. It's at high school too. Mm-hmm. I remember playing football TC, and we had 3 different coaches in 4 years, like just because we weren't very good. And it's a win now, Yep. And it's unfortunate, especially with kids, because if you build, you get these kids as freshmen, sophomores, juniors. By the time they're a senior, they're a well-oiled machine if they have consistency. And
right.
Basketball is no different than any other sport.
Yep. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to get younger, build a younger team and everything. And so that we can just keep it moving. So when we got 4 seniors going out, then the juniors got 5 juniors coming. I want to have at least like 3 sophomores ready to be juniors and just keep flowing that way. I want to build. I don't want transfers coming in as seniors. I'm not going to turn down a great player that wants to come and play for me, but I'm recruiting younger players because I want to have that foundation and I want to be able to be solid every single year. I don't want to have to keep rebuilding, or, getting transfers that's seniors and stuff like that. I want to get younger players and just groom them, let them learn from the older players and just keep it moving.
What's your personal goal with this?
Honestly, I don't, because I never thought I would be a coach. I always said I didn't want to be a coach. This summer, I was like, I'm never going to be a head coach.
It reminds me so much of the Penny Hardaway story.
Yeah. Because
Penny came in, he didn't want to coach. He got talked into it by his friend who had the medical problems and cancer. Yep. And next thing you know, he's, invested with these kids from, I think it was like 6th grade all the way on, or maybe somewhere in middle school, all the way through high school. He followed him to high school. Now, then he got James Wiseman at Memphis. He went on to coach college, and I just kind of like wonder, obviously it wasn't his goal either. And it just kind of the way life took him.
Yep.
Is that something, if that door opened, would you be open to it?
How this stuff going
right now? Is this way too soon to think about it?
No, I'm going to tell you honestly, I'm looking at this path, this road that I've been traveling. And I said, never, 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 never. And all the nevers I'm actually doing now. Like now, I just said this summer, I'm not going to be a head coach. Like I love my head coach that I had before me. He stepped down and boom, I had to jump right in this road, unexpectedly. And I mean, it is what it is. I understood it. Right after I got the job, I put it on my Instagram. I put it on my story. I said, it's not my plan. I said, I'm gonna go ahead and step back and, let God do his thing, because I definitely didn't plan on doing this, because I got so much that I'm trying to do for myself and so many things that I got to catch up on. Like, cheat code, you brought that up.
Yeah, tell me about
this book. I wrote this book before the pandemic and it's done, it's finished. But now I'm just now getting my first edit because of the time and because of coaching and training and everything. That was my priority, these kids. But now, I got the cheat code book. It's editing it right now. So I want to get it out by my birthday, November 11th. At least by then, I'll probably be having pre-sales, if anything. But November 11th is going to be the launch date. And it's really good. It's really good. I just started reading the edit. I'm reading it myself. When you write it, you don't read it.
So is cheat code kind of like an autobiography?
Nah. So this is what cheat code is. I was writing my autobiography. I was doing that myself. But it's so long, and the basketball portion of it was so much. I just pulled all the basketball stories out and made it the own book. And reading over it, and while I'm writing it, it's all about development and how I developed as a player. So I just added a twist to it and called it cheat code, because the cheat code is all the little things and nuances that kids don't really understand that makes the game so easy.
Fundamentals.
Fundamentals and the mental part. Like it's control. You have control over your destiny. Like if you don't have a left hand, it's mental. Mm-hmm. It's mental. And I tell people all the time, I had a weak left hand for so long and nobody ever knew it, because I would get the rebound, the ball, I would push it with my left hand on the left side all the time.
Yeah, my best friend would sit there, empty court, hours shooting left-hand layups, shooting left-hand jumpers. He was a right-handed guy. And to this day, here he is in his 40s, just like us. You go out on the court, you don't know what side to guard him. Yeah, right. He might naturally go and shoot his jumper with his right, If you force him, he's going to shoot it with his left and he's going to knock it down.
Right.
It's repetition, it's practice, it's like you said, mental. It's not having that fear of using something you're not used to using.
Exactly. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
I mean, I was one of those guys that would sit there and just, I mean, I know it's a trick, it's what it is, but I could go behind my back, like, you know, just going through a layup from my right to my left and go behind my back and do a left-handed layup. And that same guy I just told you, he's never been comfortable bringing the ball behind his back to go up for a shot. It's just a mental thing, like where that to me is natural.
Yeah.
I'm ambidextrous. Like for me, like it's never been a big deal. Broke my arm as a kid, so I definitely became more towards one side or the other. But and then obviously, I think one thing is when you're coached as a kid, and this is one thing I love that they do today that they didn't do when I was a kid, is they teach you to use the left. They teach you to use other things. When I was a kid, I played the way my coach played, right? Like if your coach drops back and throws a football pass with his right hand, what do? You drop back and throw a football pass with your right hand.
Right.
If your coach throws it with his left hand, you're like, all right, let me try throwing it with my left hand. It's what you're taught. And yes, your body has natural tendencies, especially when it comes to writing or whatever you're more comfortable doing. But you can be taught to do anything. It's just about wanting to learn.
Yeah, it is definitely. And like I said, when I always go left as a coach, if I see a kid and I see them dribbling ball with their right hand and then they start going left and the ball still in their right hand, immediately I'll be like, she can't go left. She can't go left. So when I played, I knew that it was uncomfortable, but I still would use it. So every time I got the ball, I would go left. So now I did it so much. Think about it. If somebody tried to cut me off, I'm coming back to my strong hand now. Yep. So why would I always be strong hand dominant knowing I got a weak hand? But I got so comfortable doing it, next thing you know, I just didn't think about it anymore. And my left hand was like my right hand. And I didn't go train and do it. I just played. I just did it while I was playing. So now every time I'm going to my left hand, I do my moves always start going left. And I got so comfortable with my left. I can shoot threes with my left. I can dribble with my left. I can pass with my left. I can do everything with my left. I can do my right. Like I can shoot from 5 steps behind the NBA line with my left hand. And it was all mental. I didn't train. I didn't get in the gym and do 100 counters and dribble, pound with my left hand. You know, all the stuff these kids doing now. I see them dribbling around the cone. Michael Jordan said back in 92, I was watching Michael Jordan and he said, I'm not ever going to dribble 2 basketballs because I don't play with 2 basketballs.
I can't. I've been a point guard my whole life. I can't do the 2 basketball thing.
Yeah, and it makes sense. He was like, I'm going to do things that I'm doing repetitions of stuff that I'm going to actually do in the game. And like today, you look at these kids being trained, they doing all these dribble combos and stuff. And Anthony Tucker, my guy, he's a trainer. He said something to me that I always repeat. He said, Lonnie, it's probably 10 players in the world that's allowed to do that. He said, think about it. He said, on the pro and on the college level, there's probably 10 players in the world that's allowed to just hold the ball and do all these dribble moves and play with the ball in a game. I said, wow. But yet everybody is running around here doing this stuff with these trainers. And the other problem is you're a trainer, you got 10 kids in the gym and you got them 10 kids all doing the same thing. What is that? They're different players. Each one needs something different individually. So that's why when I started training back this summer, because I ain't trained in years. Like I work with my girls, but I started back actually opening it up and doing training this summer. And I did one-on-ones. And then one day a week, I would do 3 because I wanted them to compete against each other. Mm-hmm. But those 3 didn't do the same stuff. I didn't have a routine workout. I never write down a workout or anything. First thing I do, I put all my kids through this footwork stuff and little basketball stuff. I have them out there playing. Like one kid, I had her playing 1-on-9. I said, who do you want to be? I said, let me ask you this. If this was 10 years from now and you were a fully developed player, how would you play? Who would you be as a player? I gave her the ball and said, go play. Pretend you out here by yourself. I said, and she's a big kid. She's like 6'4", don't have the footwork, really can't dribble. She was out there trying to dribble behind her back. She was trying to go between the legs. Like, honestly, I could say it was funny, but I was concentrating on her body movements, how she moved, and what she wanted to do. And from that, I developed what I was going to teach her to help her become a better player. And one of my kids now, her name Jada Belton. She's a senior. And she only been playing ball for 3 years. Where she was at last year, and she came and worked with me this summer only for 2 months. And the things that we worked on, you wouldn't even believe it. The confidence she had, this girl's shooting threes, she's shooting fadeaways, she's doing it all. She pump faking from the 3-point line, putting it on the floor a few times, getting to the basket. And one of her teammates that played with us last year, she saw the video on Instagram and was like, wow, cheat code really worked. She was like, it really works. But it's the simplest things though. It's
Coach Harrell knows the shit.
It's just making kids comfortable. That's it. It's confident. I'm gonna tell you, majority of the strength that I have is I can evaluate talent. I can see years from now. I can see a player right now who's not that good in the gym, and I can tell you the type of player they're gonna be if they put the right work in. And I can develop. But it's not no cones. It ain't no fixing no jump shots. I don't touch people's jump shots. I don't touch them. Only thing I do, I make a little tweak here and there, but you don't change the style if it goes in. The object is to make the ball go in. Mm-hmm. We've seen that some of the ugliest jump shots over our time.
So you're going to let somebody be another Reggie Miller?
And think about Reggie Miller. His jump shot is horrendous.
Sean Marion,
horrendous.
If you couldn't have fixed that when they were younger, come on, man.
Yeah, so and that's the thing. When you're older, no, you gotta let it go because it's so routine. They so used to it, the muscle memory. It takes a lot to break that stuff. Like you legit gotta get a heavy ball, sit a kid on a wall, and just make him a robot. But the biggest thing that I never hear anybody teach about shooting is the simplest thing: practice keeping the ball on line. That's it. That's the simplest part of shooting. Don't worry about the makes and misses right now. Let's get you consistent, keeping it on line.
I could go out to a court right now, and I think the biggest flaw from not playing forever or whatever the case is, isn't accuracy, it's depth.
Yeah.
Like whether I shoot it too strong, trying to compensate for the fact that I haven't shot a basketball in 2 years or whatever the case is, or if I shoot it too soft because I'm trying to, aim it or whatever the case is. Like accuracy is you either have it or you don't.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like once they learn to keep it on line, now you're dealing with touch. Now you're dealing with your release point and stuff like that. Because now the hardest thing is, and I don't understand why, because shooting is a feel. Getting a kid to put rotation on their shot, that is the most difficult thing I've ran across when it comes to a shooter. I don't understand it. I'm like, you're
talking to the wrong guy because I kind of shot a knuckleball in my hole.
You got a knuckleball too? Man.
Tim Hardaway.
Yeah, but see, y'all got the feel. See, when you know what it feels like to make shots.
And for the life of me, I don't know why I do it.
Yeah, it's
not on purpose. Like I have beautiful form, but my shot for whatever reason just does not rotate a lot.
my ball. That's how I control it. And that's where the range come from too. Like when I shoot from half court, it's the rotation on the ball and keeping it on line. And then since you're so deep, you put that height on it. It just seems so simple to me. Trying to teach that, people is looking at me like I'm crazy. Like,
do you think hand size has anything to do with it?
Nope, because I don't have huge hands.
Yeah, but your hands are big enough. I mean, you're 6'7", 6'8". Your hands are big enough on a basketball where me at 5'8", 5'9", like I have smaller hands.
Yeah.
Like Tim Hardaway had smaller hands.
It can't be because the control and the balance of the ball is important. That's one of the things I always tell the kids to spread their fingers as much as possible so the ball won't fall out your hand. You
might not have big hands, but you can still palm a basketball relatively easy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But that's the thing, though, having control of that ball. That's all it is. Ball control is ball control. Like throwing a football, they want you to throw the football through the tire or whatever. Like having that control of the ball is the key. And it's the same thing with shooting. Like when they teach you how to shoot the ball with one hand all the time, that's a control thing. It's not more so a form. They make it a form thing. It's not a form thing. That's a control thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So cheat code's all about developing.
It's my stories. I get all my basketball stories in there and I tie it into development. Like for an example, I talked about the D League. Like I was leading my team in every statistical category.
I mean, over 3 years, you were like, when you left the D League, you were the active leading scorer all time, right?
Not all time.
Not all time, but active. Like you were at the time you were the leading active scorer.
So and I had
I think you were top 5. I think I was reading or something like that.
Yeah, my coach, he had a friend on the team who played for the Spurs during the lockout when they got the ring and everything. He was a solid player. He wasn't better than me. but I had to play behind him. I started, but he was the option. He was the number one option. And I had to deal with that stuff. Like mentally, I knew I was the best player and everything, but I had to deal with that. And I talked to one of my kids right now that's in college. She having a tough time with the mental side of things. She got attitude issues and stuff. The coach is upset at her and everything. I said, babe, look, you there and you ain't going nowhere for this year. If you decide to transfer or whatever, that's on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But while you're there, you're not gonna be in a good mindset. If you got negative thoughts, how you gonna be good? How you gonna play good? I said, you gotta get rid of that and make that situation the best situation so you can be successful. And that's what I always did. And at the end of the day, every team I went to, I started off on the bench, regardless of how good I was, because people got their buddies. And it's just what it is. Favoritism is in everything.
Politics.
Right, in politics. It's in everything. I'm dealing with it now with the girls, with AAU, and all these rankings and all this stuff. I got 10 kids on my team that can be ranked, and none of them ranked. But I don't trip off of it. Their parents don't trip.
Was DC Assault after you?
Yep. No, it was after me, yeah. We only had Executive 8, and it was one more AAU team when I came out. I mentioned that in there too, because I went and worked out one time with the team. And
because like DeMar and all those guys are like only like a year or two younger than you, right?
Nah, more than that.
Are they? Are they like my age then?
Because I came back.
Because I'm 43, and I remember DeMar was already in college when I was in high school.
You think? I don't think he's that old. I was in college.
I graduated in '95, high school. He was already in Cincinnati.
Oh, you know what though? Because DeMar did but he went to prep after high school.
And right after me was another kid I played with, Sir Valiant Brown, went to GW. Yeah, he grew up in our neighborhood and he played. He was always the littler kid, but he was like maybe like 2 or 3 years behind us. And he was on that. He was probably one of the last DC Assault. Him, Beasley, all those guys. But I was just like, you kept talking about AAU, and it's like I know it was like after you, but I couldn't remember if it was like right after you or what.
He 40. DeMar 40.
Is he? Is he younger than me?
Yep, he 40.
My timetable must be off then.
Yeah, he 40.
I felt like he was already in college. I guess not.
He got drafted in 2000.
Yeah, my timetable must be way off then.
Yeah,
I remember him in DC Assault. I remember all that AAU kind of coming on the scene right as I was ending high school. Maybe like right after I got out of high school, like AAU became a big thing.
Yeah, because I left when I was out of college. When I came back to see him playing high school, people was telling me about him. So I was done college, and I saw him playing high school. He was at a prep school then. Yep.
He was a monster in AAU.
Yeah, they had him all.
I mean, they had all the resources because the coaches were doing a little something on the side. So they had the best uniforms. They had the best everything. You know, the 90s was all about style.
Man, I don't condone it, but I see why he did it.
I'm not talking shit about it.
No, I'm saying I see why he did it, though, because...
I mean, we grew up in the Rayful Edmond era.
That stuff tried to send me to the poorhouse.
I mean, we grew up in the Rayful Edmond era. You talking about New Jack City. Like, D.C. was basically...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people look at it now. It's all gentrified. And don't get me wrong, it's way better. I will say this year has kind of really made me sad because like there's just another shooting in Northwest today. Kid on Georgia Avenue. 25-year-old guy got shot, killed, or maybe it was last night, but I just read the story today.
Wow.
Like DC's, I guess now it's like the most murders in 10 years. And it's all because of this pandemic. It's all because people, are getting desperate again. People out of work, people not, having the resources they used to have. And unfortunately, as well as I do, people hurting, they're going to kind of find other ways to meet ends. So DC is a big city. It's not a suburban town. It's New York, Chicago, LA, DC. It's right there. And unfortunately, we grew up in an era in the 90s. We were getting 500 murders a year. Like DC was not a good place to be. No,
not at all. And I tell people that all the time. Like right now, with everything you do, you're gonna get criticism for it. People not gonna agree with you. People not gonna be always on your team. The new word everybody uses, hate. I never call anybody a hater. I don't think people hate me.
That's been around a while. I don't like the word. Not the word I really care about. I'm not one of those people that put it holier than thou. Like, don't ever use the word hate. It's not that. I just don't, like my best friend always says, like he hates the word hater because if you disagree with somebody's opinion, you're instantly a hater. It doesn't matter if you have facts on your side. Doesn't matter if it's just simply your opinion. It's because you're voicing it there. All of a sudden, somebody's gonna call you a hater.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't like, people. I don't like for people to say that. I don't use the word, but it's like I came from Southeast DC. I was born and raised in Congress Park in Southeast DC. That's on the Anacostia side, and that's all about survival. So this little stuff that's going on, like in the basketball world, we got other organizations that talk bad about me to parents, and they try to persuade them not to play for me and all this stuff. And like now, I just got this head coaching job. We 8-4. We're in fourth. It's 10 teams. We're in fourth place. We got bracket playoffs start this weekend. We lost 4 games. We 9-4, something like that. Everybody like, oh, hell broke loose. Oh, they losing and da 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 da. In the fall league, first time all these girls playing together, for high school and everything. And I laugh at it. But I'm like, because y'all think this supposed to be stress or this supposed to be pressure on me? Like, I come from Southeast DC. I was sitting on a stoop when bullets flying past. They wasn't coming at me.
They don't know now. They don't know.
And my friends. Yeah. And I was at Georgetown complaining. And I used to come home and shoot around on my outdoor court before we got games and stuff. Like, I was
I'll tell you right now, UDC is not in a bad part of town. But back then, when you guys were playing back in the USBL days,
yeah,
I didn't want to go to those games. Like, if the game was the daytime, I was like, all right, let's go. If it was at night, because this is one of those things, like, if it's your bad neighborhood, you're like, all right, cool. Because I grew up in a very bad neighborhood in Alexandria. Mm. And I ran the streets in DC. I was shot at outside the Penthouse Club, like I've been in dirt, like I've been in shit. And I'm not saying that to make me look tough, or not saying that to make me look to advocate it in any way whatsoever, because I wish I wasn't. I wish I didn't go through any of that shit. But I was. And you look at those neighborhoods nowadays, like UDC, like I didn't want to be there at night. Where it was then, I didn't want to be there at night. Now I drive by it. Now I'm like, this is a good neighborhood. It wasn't then. And New York Avenue, Gallaudet, Florida Avenue, all that stuff. I remember helping some guys move out of a conference one time to make some extra money when I was like an 18-year-old kid. And some guy driving a old caddy came around the corner, and they like scared the shit out of a construction worker by slamming a 40 on the ground and making like a gunshot sound. And the thing broke over the guy's head because he was so terrified. Those neighborhoods now that we take for granted, like I'm not gonna lie, I've bartended in the city for over 20 years. I could walk any part of that city without looking over my shoulder. I'm not worried about being robbed. I'm not worried about anything these days.
Yeah.
Even in Anacostia.
Yeah.
And
certain parts.
I mean, I grew up in a big city, so I'm familiar with don't put yourself in bad situations.
Right, exactly.
It's not about being the toughest guy in the room. It's about, if you are in a city or an area that you're not in a good situation, keep your head down. Don't bother nobody. Don't sit there and stare anybody down. Don't do stupid shit, And if somebody starts fucking with you, you got to do what you got to do. But there's better ways to go about it. And nowadays, a lot of these kids today don't know that. A lot of these adults today don't know that. I mean, you're in your mid 40s. A lot of these parents are in their 30s. Like they didn't grow up with the way DC used to be. And I can only imagine some of the liberties they try to take. Like they just look at it like, and I deal with it on a day-to-day basis in the restaurant business. It's people just don't know. And when it does happen, they look surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, you have your own views on it, and you grew up in Southeast, which at the time, Southeast was like the most dangerous neighborhood, one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the United States.
Yeah.
That, Gary, Indiana, like just these random hotspots, South Central, Compton, Southeast Washington, D.C. You didn't want to be there. No matter if you were from there, you didn't want to be there.
And it was crazy though. My neighborhood where I grew up at, it's still similar now. But because it's so tucked away though, that a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't go there. You have no reason to go on that side of town for anything. It's nothing over there for you to go. It's nothing.
I tend not to go.
Not a doctor's
office. I just moved to Florida, but I tend not to go to Southeast across the river for any reason, unless I have to.
Yeah, there's no reason
And
to go.
I tend not to go in Northeast certain sections, even though I lived in Northwest for quite a while. Like I tend not to go in like Sheriff Road, Minnesota Avenue. Like if you don't have to be there, why?
Yeah, there's no reason to go over there. So Suitland Parkway is the closest that you need to go. If you're trying to go to that other side of Maryland, like Branch Avenue, Clinton, or something like that, then, or you can take the Beltway, but that's the closest you're gonna get to my neighborhood. There's no
Watch
reason.
out for those speed traps on 295. There's no road work, but they're gonna get you a ticket.
Oh yeah, I already know. I know where all the cameras at.
I'm telling the people at home. I know you know. like they're getting sued right now because they're trying to take so much money. They've been doing road work for like 3-4 years. Ain't been one construction worker out there.
Right. It's crazy.
Anyway, I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I'd absolutely love to have you back. I love talking to you. There's been some talk about having a sports podcast. I know I can get you on that and just rip for a long time. Before I get out of here, what do you think your boy Tom's going to do this year? You think they're going to Super Bowl?
They're going. I'm gonna tell you why. The way he rallied his team against Green Bay, you know that was personal, right? It was for two reasons.
Always.
One was for Aaron Rodgers. The second one was the game before that when Tom made a mistake and thought it was third down, it was fourth. The Green Bay player was like, "Well, my quarterback, my quarterback know what the what fourth down is. That you blew it. Why you gonna poke the bear?"
Do you think he really didn't know what down it was? Or do you think that was just something the camera catching him at a weird angle?
He didn't speak on it, but he did walk back on the field like as if it wasn't over. And he didn't lead the field, I mean.
Okay.
And he did put his fingers up and was like this. So he might have.
To me, it seemed like he was like, we wasted 4 downs.
Right. It could have been.
I feel like he was yelling at somebody, but I mean, nobody came out on the field and said that he didn't know what down it was. His teammates defended him. So,
yeah. And that dude made a mistake by bringing that up. He blew it. He should have never said that.
Oh, Tom Brady's got a little Michael Jordan in him. He's got a little.
Oh, you already know.
You're going to give me some ammunition. I need something like that to get me pumped up at 43 years old.
And then think of this. The defense makes a play. He's the first one on the field in the defense face. He routed the defense. He talks to his defense. You don't see too many quarterbacks on the defensive bench.
He's a
talking
leader.
to players. Like he's just a leader. He's a leader. And
now he might be a little delusional though. He might not have known because he also didn't know what house Byron Leftwich lived in when he moved here and went into a neighbor's house by accident. So
Brady did that. I didn't even
yeah. When he was down here when he first moved down here and he was he's been staying in Jeter's mansion. He's actually buying a house in Clearwater now, but he was staying and he went over to Byron Leftwich's house, another gated community. Everybody leaves their doors open, whatever.
Right.
And he was going over the playbook with Byron Leftwich. And he went to walk into a house and he walked into the wrong house. And obviously doors wide open, it's a rich neighborhood. Everybody's gated. And he walked in. Yeah, it's kind of a popular story down here. It was between that and him getting busted playing in the park, like working out when he wasn't supposed to be in the parks were closed.
Yeah, good thing he was Brady.
Yeah. Somebody else comes in that house, it might not be.
Right. Yeah, but they definitely going, especially now. And he got his man. He got Aunt Brown. Like, who are you going to defend now?
Does Brown make the season? Does he last the season?
Yeah. He respect Brady. Now, that was Belichick. Think about it. Brown been quiet.
I've heard the stories,
Nothing has came up. No stories came up. No women complaining or anything, right?
Well, he still got a sexual assault trial in December.
Right, he still got that. But something else gonna pop up as soon as he get on.
And I'm not gonna get everybody mad at me, but that's that trial, that case is very suspect.
Yeah, definitely it is.
I'm not gonna victim bash at all because she could 100% be telling the truth.
Yeah.
But for the amount of years that it covered and the situation where she still, even after the situation, used his name to promote her business.
Use his name. Yep.
When you're using somebody's name to promote your business and then they refuse to write you a check and then your response is to whether it happened or not. I mean, it may have very well happened and she was just always holding it in her back pocket and be like, all right, now I'm gonna tell the world. Or she could be making it up. And that's something we'll find out in the trial, I'm sure. But that's the only reason why I wonder if he'll make the whole season because one, Arians isn't going to have the same, like he's like Belichick. If you piss him off, you're going to be gone. Mm-hmm. They do bring in a lot of projects. They brought in Fournette. It worked out. They brought in, AB and they brought in Gronk. Unfortunately, I feel bad because Cameron Brate was playing so great and he got pushed down to like 3rd, 4th string tight end now.
He back though because what's his name got hurt?
Howard's getting ready to come back.
He not done for the season?
No, I think he's coming back in a couple weeks. I could be wrong, but I think he's coming back. And Gronk's actually hurt now. Like he
practiced.
He practiced, but did you see the touchdown? Like how he limped after that touchdown?
Yeah.
Something's off. They haven't talked about it, but you could see it.
Yeah, because he's running slow too.
That's just him being getting in shape and conditioning.
Yeah.
Too much time on the Masked Singer.
But they going to the bowl. He got that defense rallied up. He got
that defense is the best in the NFL. People don't know about that.
Yeah.
JPP and all those guys. Oh, Godwin broke his finger or something. He's gonna miss another week.
He's got all of them been hurt.
AB is not gonna play this week. I think he's gonna play the week after that. He has like one more week left on his suspension.
Yeah, the week after the 8th.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But man, I really appreciate you doing this. I'm gonna let you get out of here. Do me a favor, just plug anything you want right now. Tell people where they can follow you, how they can keep up with everything. Tell them where they can, keep in touch with when Cheat Code comes out, how they can get a hold of it.
Okay. Well, my Instagram is The Prime Objective. My Twitter is One Prime Objective. I'm a new author of the Cheat Code. Cheat Code will be posted on my social media outlets soon. I'm gonna do
you gotta let me know when I can buy that.
Right. We're gonna do a pre-release. You can order in advance or whatever. I'm gonna have some special editions as well, like coffee table type hardback books for, just for the good look, so you can sit it in the house as a collector's item. That's pretty much it. That's what I'm focusing on right now. So, the support.
Georgetown's still screwing you over, by the way, because they call you the Prime Directive.
Oh my goodness.
Check the art, like Google your name and check that article on Georgetown where they talk about the former alumni. At the very end, they're like, you can also find them like Prime Directive. And I'm like, you really don't like him, do you?
Wow, that's great. And what's so crazy, man? Pat, so close. Pat, my guy.
Ewing's gonna turn it around. I mean, he doesn't keep in truck with the PR department. He don't care what they're writing on websites.
Yeah. I go to his practices. I call him all the time.
Ewing's an old school dude. He don't care about none of that.
Yeah, that's my guy. So I'm always gonna love G-Town, especially while he there.
Give him a couple more years. They're gonna be back to being a powerhouse.
Yeah.
They just need more talent, but they'll be there. But man, Lonnie, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you get out of here. Everybody go follow him. I'll put all the links in the show notes. Try to link to some of the highlights and everything we were talking about, and all that great stuff he's done. He's coaching these girls. They're going to end up being rock stars. Probably see half of them playing D1 somewhere. The sky's the future for some of the kids that he's teaching if they listen to him. He knows everything. So, and I'm not even exaggerating. The guy knows his stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Lonnie Harrell. This is the Certified Podcast. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.